What's up guys, Evol here. Hey, for my next video here I'm going to be doing a bit of an unboxing and a review of the Latrax rally car, 1/18 scale rally car. A lot of people have compared this thing to the HPI Ken Block. These two cars do not compare at all. This is more of a touring sedan, a small scale touring sedan, not really conducive to rally at all. It's got exposed gears, all kinds of stuff. This thing is supposed to be very rough and tumble, so I'm going to tear this open, and of course there we go, of course in Evil Villain Green. I actually picked this up because my partners in crime from RC CarCast peer pressured me into picking this up. Apparently we're going to be racing these, so I'm sure they won't stay stock RTR for very long. So for those of you who don't know anything about these, Latrax is basically Traxxas. Latrax was a brand, I believe, that was started by the father of the owner of Traxxas in 1975. In 1980 he sold it off to another company, Brinkman or someone. They recently bought it back and they started releasing vehicles under this moniker. Now, it's still a Traxxas vehicle. I expect the quality to be the same as a Traxxas, but I think the Latrax name just means it's their entry-level series. Cost-wise, I think is supposed to be under $200. This car retails for around $120, which I think is a really good value for a 2.4 gigahertz RTR vehicle. This features things like it's waterproof, things like that. They cut some corners here, like this is a ball bearing car. This car is not. This car is bushing, which just shocked the hell out of me because I haven't seen a bushing car in a long time that wasn't toy grade. And it's also brushed like the Ken Block car, not brushless or anything. So let's crack it open and we'll check it out, and I'll give you my initial thoughts, and then we'll take it for a drive. Scissors always work in a pinch. Yeah, so right off the bat, I mean, differences between this and the Ken Block car are huge. It's a tub chassis, not, unlike a four-wheel drive off-road vehicle chassis. There's a decent amount of suspension travel. We'll have to mess with that, see if we can get a little bit better droop going on, because rally cars jump. This doesn't look like it would jump very well. So, yeah, Traxxas DNA is apparent. You have the blue plastic. There's a friction shock stock, which I think I mentioned, but you're not going to get a lot of dampening on that. We'll upgrade those later. Looks like it's got front and rear differentials. Looks like the rear diff is a little bit heavier than the front, which would make sense. Looks like it comes with a 6-cell NiCad. Tamiya connectors. Don't see those very often anymore. I don't imagine this thing would generate enough heat to melt those together. Got your rear receiver box here. It's all supposed to be waterproof, so right off the bat, as just a basher vehicle, that's probably going to be pretty fantastic. So it comes with the double A's, which is nice. Ken Block car did that also. It's similar to what you find on other Traxxas RTRs. Not quite as, it's very light. It feels cheap. Not as full featured as some of the other RTR radios, but it's definitely a step up from the HPI. But the feel of this is good. I think it'll be decent for an RTR vehicle. Cut for now. I'm going to go ahead and charge this up, and we'll take it for a spin and see what it's like. Alright, so while my battery's charging, let's do a bit of a comparison. These two cars get compared a lot, which is kind of silly to me because they're completely different animals. But I think they do get compared because A, they kind of look the same, they're kind of marketed as a rally car, and they're relatively in the same price point. So just from straight up looks, I mean, I think the Ken Block car looks way nicer. It's more scale, the body's pulled tighter details, separate wing, the livery on the car just gives it a lot more scale looks. That being said, the Traxxas car does not look bad at all. But, and here's what drives me crazy about this car. So what does it say right here? Global Rallycross. So those of us who are rally fans know that Rallycross consists of on-road and off-road, typically on the same track at the same time. So underneath the skin here though, this car is unapologetically an on-road car. Suspension is not tunable at all. Has a exposed drivetrain. You can see the gears right there. If you took this car off-road, you're not going to be driving for very long. So it's just a little bit misrepresented as a rally car, and it's kind of misleading to consumers, which kind of sucks, because you know, most people, if they're buying this as their only car, they're going to take it home and they're going to want to bash it and jump it and all kinds of things like that. So the Micro RS4, not really suited to that at all. Now me, I'm not personally disappointed with this car because I bought it as more of a gymkhana / drift car. It's going to work fantastic in that respect. It looks really scale. It drifts really well. So there's that, but not even close to being a rally car. So the Latrax Rally is at its core a very much so a rally car. It's waterproof. You don't have to worry about getting splashed on. It has a very sturdy tube chassis. It has an enclosed drivetrain. You can see the pinion and spur gear are enclosed. The diffs are enclosed. There's no exposed gears, so gravel and stuff's going to get up in here and ride around up in here and could possibly jam this servo, just kind of due to bad design. But this car is going to be really resilient as far as running off-road. So if you are, leaning or looking at these two cars, hopefully this will help you tell, the difference between these things, because I just think this is marketed poorly, and I think this is undermarketed. You don't hear a lot about this car, but you get a lot for your money. So for my purposes, we're going to be racing these cars. So my first set of upgrades is going to be radio. The RTR radio probably works fine. I'm not really interested in testing it out. I'm probably going to be putting it on my Spectrum DX4, possibly on my Futaba 4PL, because the receiver footprint is much smaller, so depending on how much room I have in the car. The big upgrade here I'm going to be doing is Latrax actually puts out a bearing kit for this car. In my opinion, they'd be better served to do this out of the box, but I understand with the brand and everything, they're trying to keep the cost way down. So we'll be doing that. And then the other upgrade I'm doing will be the oil-filled shocks. And this is just because we're planning on jumping and things like that. This will allow to do a little bit of tuning with oil, help the car land a little bit better. And they're hopefully durable. I haven't had great experience with oil-filled shocks that are this small. And the last thing is I just bought a clear body. I'm going to be painting this up in my colors just to kind of personalize it a little more. Make it look a little bit less like a cookie cutter car. All of these upgrades and things are relatively cheap, so if you get one of these cars and you want to do some tweaking on it, it can all be done pretty cheap. So kudos to them for keeping the cost down on those prices. I'm sorry, keeping the cost down on those parts. And yeah, that's it. So starting to look into the nitty-gritty a little bit on this car. The suspension seems to be really dainty. I'm hoping that this stuff holds up pretty well. Traxxas plastic is usually fairly rugged, so I'm hoping that carries over into this. Has fixed tie rods, so no tunability there, but you could probably change these out to a adjustable tie rod to adjust camber and all that good stuff. Like I say, not really a racing vehicle. That's not their concern. These are probably pretty rugged little pieces. One thing that I immediately don't like about this car, and this goes with any small scale RC car, is the hardware. It's just tiny, and they put Phillips head hardware all throughout this car. That's going to be a complete pain in the rear to work on. Those will strip out because they're probably cheap Chinese pot metal, so that's going to be a bit of a frustration for me. I'll let you know after I tear the car apart to do the bearing upgrade. But that's the initial things I like about the car, or I don't like about the car. We'll see if we find more once we've got it out and drove it a little bit. Alright, battery's done. Looks like it did about 1023 milliamps. It's a 1200 milliamps, so probably partially charged. I think nickel metals have a partial charge in them for storage. So, all right, battery in here. Let's take it for a spin. So anyway, there you have it. In short, I really like the Latrax Rally. It's fun to drive. Speed-wise, it's comparable to the Ken Block, maybe a little bit slower, but it's quite a bit bigger and heavier. If you're going to be driving around on smooth floors, you know, it's going to be depends what's more important to you. Where this is looks really cool, has all the licensing. You know, maybe you're a Ken Block fanboy or something. Versus this, you can have just as much fun with for around $40 cheaper. If it's going to be kind of like your only car and you're going to do all kinds of other stuff with it, like off-road, you're going to get it, you know, dirty out in the dirt, gravel, whatever, you know, this is definitely your car. This is not a rally car by any stretch, where this definitely is. So I'll be shooting some more videos of it here in the coming weeks, of these things jumping and doing all kinds of fun stuff. But at $120, I think these are a great value. Quality seems to be decent. Power is fun out of the box, and then we'll do some upgrades and see what it's like after that. So all in all, like I say, these two cars, even though people compare them a lot, they're not really in the same category at all. This car at the money, I think, is a great purchase. It's going to be a lot of fun for someone who doesn't have anything to get started. It's got everything you needed right out of the box, and you just charge it up and throw it down and have a good time. So I really like it. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. We will update again here once we've done some upgrades.